Sometimes in life we pray, we believe, and still nothing seems to change. The doors remain closed. The breakthrough is delayed. The healing hasn't come. The answer feels silent. But let me remind you of a divine truth: delay is not denial. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean God isn't working behind the scenes. There are moments in our lives when it feels like everything is standing still. We pray, we fast, we hope, we expect. And yet heaven seems silent. Doors remain shut. Nothing moves and doesn't come. The relationship doesn't heal. The situation doesn't change. And the enemy begins to whisper, maybe God said no. But what if the answer isn't no? What if it's simply not yet? What if the silence is not God ignoring you, but God preparing something you cannot yet see? Delay is not denial. God is still working. So many times we measure God's love by the speed of our prayers being answered. We measure his favor by how quickly he moves. But that's not how heaven works. The Bible is filled with stories of delay. Delays that birthed destiny. Delays that were really divine pauses. Moments where God said, wait, not because he had forgotten, but because he was aligning something greater than they could ask or think. Look at Joseph. He had a dream from God at 17. He saw visions of leadership being elevated, of his brothers bowing down. And yet what followed was betrayal, slavery, false accusation, prison. 13 years passed before the dream even began to take form. 13 years of wondering, God, did you forget what you showed me? But God hadn't forgotten. In fact, he was working behind the scenes the whole time. Joseph's delay was his preparation. The pit, the prison, those weren't punishments. They were platforms God was using to shape him for the palace. Delay was not denial, it was divine development. And maybe right now you're in your own pit season. A place where it feels dark, unfair, lonely. A place where your faith is being stretched. Your hope is being tested. And every day the enemy tells you, if God was going to do it, he would have done it by now. But let me speak truth over that lie. God is never late. He's just not operating on your schedule. His timing is perfect, not predictable. You see, God is eternal. He's not bound by time. He's not looking at your watch. He's not rushed by your calendar. He's not pressured by your deadline. He sees the end from the beginning. He knows what you need before you even ask. And sometimes in his grace, he doesn't give it to you yet, not because he's withholding good things, because he's building you into the kind of person who can carry the blessing without it crushing you. The delay is not a punishment, it's protection. There are blessings we're not yet ready for. Prayers were not yet mature enough to steward. Or that if opened too early would destroy us. So God waits, not because he's cruel, but because he's kind, because he loves you to let you settle for a cheap version of what he promised. Think about David, anointed king as a teenager. God sent a prophet to pour oil over his head and declare his destiny. And yet for years afterward, David ran from Saul, lived in caves, hid in fear. What happened to the throne? What happened to the promise? It was delayed, but not denied. God was using the wilderness to build David's character before he gave him the crown. If God had handed the kingdom too soon, pride or immaturity could have ruined it. But the delay shaped him. It prepared him to rule with humility and wisdom. In the same way, the delay in your life is not random. It's not meaningless. It's not because your prayers are weak or your faith is broken. It's because God is crafting something in the unseen realm. He's working while you're waiting. Behind every moment of silence is a strategy. Behind every closed door is construction. God is arranging people, places, and timing. He's removing wrong options. He's protecting you from counterfeits. He's preparing a stage that matches the weight of your calling. You might not see it right now, but heaven is moving. Angels are being dispatched. Hearts are being changed. Situations are being shifted. The answer you prayed for may not be visible yet, but that doesn't mean it's not in progress. Just because you haven't received the email doesn't mean the decision hasn't been made. God has already spoken over your life. It's just a matter of when you'll walk into what's already been promised. And sometimes the waiting is part of the testimony. There are some things God will do quickly, but others require time because they are meant to display his glory on a grander scale. When God delayed coming to Lazarus, it wasn't because he didn't love him. It was so the miracle would be greater. Jesus could have healed Lazarus from a distance, but he waited until death had fully settled in. He waited until the situation looked hopeless. And then with one word, he called Lazarus out of the grave. That delayed the miracle undeniable. And maybe that's what God is doing with you. Maybe he's letting the situation get so far gone, so impossible that when he moves, no one will be able to deny his power. No one will be able to say, it was luck, or it was timing, or it was your have to say, that was God. He's writing a story that only he could write. He's setting the stage so that when he shows up, every eye will see and every mouth will testify God did it. But while you wait, don't waste the season. Don't let delay turn into discouragement. Don't allow bitterness to take root. Worship while you wait. Praise while you pause. Serve even when it seems like nothing is happening. The test of faith isn't what you do when the promise comes. It's how you act when nothing seems to be moving. Keep sowing. Keep praying. Keep showing up. Because your consistency and delay will determine your strength and destiny. There's something holy about waiting. It's in the waiting that you learn to hear God's whisper. It's in the waiting that you want to walk by faith and not by sight. It's in the waiting that you learn the difference between what you want and what you truly need. And God knows, He sees, He hears every tear, every prayer, every sleepless night. It matters to Him. He hasn't turned His face away. He hasn't left you alone. He's right there holding it all together, weaving, aligning. You may feel stuck, but God is moving. You may feel forgotten, but God has not abandoned you. The promise still stands. The prophecy is still alive. The vision is still valid. Delay is not denial. And when the moment comes, when the door opens, when the healing breaks forth, when the answer arrives, you'll look back and realize that God's timing was better than your plan. You'll thank Him for the delay. You'll see how He used every second back, every silence for your good and His glory. So don't give up. Don't walk away. Don't throw in the towel. You're closer than you think. The God who started the work will finish it. The God who made the promise will fulfill it. The God who laid the answer will deliver it in a way that will leave you speechless. He's still working, even now, even here, even in this moment. Delay is not the end of your story. It's the setup. It's the stretching. It's the signal that something greater is on the way. Hold on. Stay faithful. Trust again. Because what God has spoken over your life is still true. His word doesn't return void. His promise doesn't expire. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And if He said it, He will do it. Your delay is not a denial. Your delay is divine. And your God is still working. There is something about waiting that tests the human soul like nothing else. It's one thing to believe when the doors open quickly, when prayers are answered instantly, and when everything seems to align effortlessly. But what about when doing all the right things? Praying, obeying, worshiping, and still nothing seems to be happening? What about when the heavens feel silent and time keeps ticking and your situation doesn't seem to change? That is the crucible of waiting. That is where real faith is revealed. Because faith is not proven by how loud you shout in victory. It's proven by how faithfully you walk through silence. Many people think waiting is a passive thing, that it's just sitting around hoping God will eventually do something. But true waiting in the Spirit is not passive. It's deeply active. It's a fight. It's a decision. It's a choice to trust even when you don't see, to believe even when you feel nothing, to walk forward when you don't know where the path will lead. Waiting doesn't mean God has forgotten. It means He's preparing something worth the process. Waiting is not punishment. It's preparation, and preparation takes time. You may be in a season right now where you're asking God, how long? How long until the promise? How long until the breakthrough? How long until the healing? How long must I carry this weight, walk through this desert, battle this storm? And it may seem like there's no answer. But here's the truth, and what feels like delay is often God doing His deepest work in you. The waiting season is not wasted. It's where your faith is refined, your heart is molded, your character is tested. You see, it's easy to say, trust God, when the bank account is full, the relationships are strong, and everything feels good. But real trust is tested when you have to wait, when you don't have the answers, when you're staring at closed doors, unanswered prayers, delayed promises. That's when faith is proven. That's when you learn what you truly believe. In the silence, God speaks deeper. Not louder, deeper. In the stillness, He grows your roots. When you can't feel Him, He is stretching your spirit. When you can't see the fruit, He's nurturing your foundation. And sometimes God will allow you to sit in a place of not yet so that your trust in Him becomes real. Not based on feelings, but built on truth. There are things God does in you during the waiting that are more important than the thing you're waiting for. Sometimes we're so focused on getting to the destination that we forget God is more interested in who we become on the journey. He's not just preparing the promise for you. He's preparing you for the promise. And preparation isn't always pleasant. It's lonely. It's stretching. It requires surrender. It reveals impatience, pride, and control. But all of that has to be burned away before you can step fully into what God has for you. Abraham waited 25 years for the child God promised, 25 years of walking by faith, doubting, struggling, believing again. David waited over a decade after being anointed king before he sat on the throne. Joseph waited 13 years from the dream to the fulfillment. Even Jesus waited 30 years before stepping into His ministry. And if the Son of God had to wait, so will we. Because God's not in a rush. He's not hurried by our timeline. He's not anxious about our schedule. He's committed to doing a deep work, and deep things take time. Think about a seed planted in the soil. You don't see anything at first. Days go by, then weeks, and still no sign of life. But something is happening beneath the surface. Roots are growing. Foundations are forming. And if the seed could speak, it might say, nothing's happening. It's dark. I feel buried. But it's not buried. It's planted. And planted things are destined to grow. If they don't give up, delay is the soil where destiny starts to sprout. If God gave you the blessing too soon, you might not be able to handle it. You might think it came by your own strength, your own talent, your own favor. But when you've waited, when you've wept, when you've warred in the Spirit, and then it finally comes, you'll know without a doubt, God did this. Waiting humbles us. It softens our hearts. It gives us compassion, gratitude, perspective. It strips away the need to control and forces us to depend on God alone. That is why faith is not just belief in God. It's trust in His timing. Trust is proven in the gaps between the promise and the fulfillment. It's proven when you choose to praise with no visible reason to celebrate. When you show up in prayer even when it feels empty. When you encourage others while you're still waiting on your own miracle. That's faith's maturity. That's what pleases God. Some of you have been waiting a long time for healing, for reconciliation, for a dream to come to pass. You've questioned, did I miss God? You've wondered if the promise was even real. But hear me clearly, God is not a man that He should lie. What He spoke over your life, He will bring to pass. But He will do it in His time, not yours. And sometimes the waiting is the blessing, because it's in the waiting that you learn how to pray. It's in the waiting that you develop endurance. It's in the waiting that God gives you revelation you never would have received in a season of instant answers. The depths of God are often revealed in seasons of delay. If you're in that place now, between I believe, and it is done, don't grow weary. Don't let the enemy convince you that God has changed His mind. Let the delay make you quit. Keep standing. Keep trusting. Keep praising. Your roots are growing. You're being strengthened for the weight of what's coming, and it will come, and you may not know how. You may not know when. But it's not your job to figure out the timing. It's your job to remain faithful in the waiting, to guard your heart, to keep your oil full, to keep showing up when it would be easier to walk away. Because when the breakthrough comes, and it will, you'll understand why it had to take time. You'll see that what God was building in you was far greater than what you were asking for. The character, the compassion, the wisdom, the depth, it was all part of the plan. There is a strength born in waiting that nothing else can produce. A trust in God, not just His hand. A maturity that doesn't panic with delay. A heart that says, even if I have to wait longer, I will not let go. I will trust You, Lord. I will wait on You because I know You are faithful. God sees you forgotten. He is not far away. He's working in the dark. He's shaping you. He's getting the details right, and what's ahead is worth every second of the wait. Delay is not a curse. It's the proving ground of your faith. It's a holy space where God builds endurance, strength, and intimacy. So do not despise the waiting. Embrace it. Use it. Let it refine you. Because when it's time, when heaven's clock strikes your appointed moment, no power in hell can stop what God has ordained. The waiting will end. The answer will come. And your faith will shine like gold tested in fire. You'll walk into that promise with a deeper understanding, a quieter strength, and a story that glorifies God. And you'll look back and realize the waiting wasn't a waste. It was the womb of your becoming. So wait well and trust deeply. God is not done. He is working in the silence and the stillness and the unseen. And your faith is being proven right now in the waiting. So if you're in the middle of a delay, don't give up. Don't misread silence as absence. God is not done. He's not late. He's not forgotten you. He's simply preparing something greater than what you asked for. Keep believing. Delay is not denial. God is still working.